This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
It is Monday, October 28th, 8 days to go. 8 is a good one. We got lots of good number 8s. We'll get to that. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I was down in D.C., went to Arlington Cemetery, my favorite place to visit. Walked around, walked the streets of D.C. I just love walking the streets. It feels like you're in the middle of the epicenter of power and in the whole world. It's like the capital of the world when you're walking around D.C. I hope everyone had a great weekend, but I can assure you of this. You didn't have as good a weekend as Donald Trump. I don't care what you did this weekend. The Washington Commanders didn't have as good a weekend as Donald Trump. The Niners didn't have as good a weekend as Donald Trump. It was spectacular in every way. If you were tuning out, if you were doing things and just enjoying a good fall weekend, weren't really paying attention, we can run it down. It started with the 3-hour Joe Rogan interview. Trump sat down with Rogan and pointed out correctly that Kamala Harris could never do that. Just have a freewheeling conversation, no script, no notes, no teleprompter. I don't think he made any big news out of that. I don't think there were any big gaffes. I mean, there were some funny moments, but it was just two guys just talking for 3 hours. And Trump pointed out if she ever did show up in Rogan's studio, she'd end up in a ball on the floor in tears because she couldn't handle it. She can't handle a 1 minute staged appearance at a bar with Gretchen Whitmer. This was painful to watch. But I said a week ago when Trump worked the drive-through window at McDonald's in Pennsylvania, I said that was the greatest campaign event, the greatest campaign appearance I'd ever seen. Just in simplicity. It was literally 15 minutes and it won the weekend. It won the day. It drew a contrast once again with Kamala Harris. She's not a real person. He showed there that he's a real person. He had a good time. People could relate. They laughed. They thought it was fun. It is no longer the greatest campaign event I've ever seen. Last night in New York City at historic Madison Square Garden, Trump held a rally, and it was the most successful, the most electric rally I've ever seen. It was amazing on every level. And it was, once again, one of those things that Kamala Harris could never do. Hell, she had to bring out Beyonce in Houston to get a crowd. And then Beyonce didn't sing, didn't dance, didn't perform, just showed up. They gave her $10 million to speak for like 2 minutes. That's what it takes to draw a crowd to a Kamala Harris rally. Trump, on the other hand, had a lineup of heavy hitters. They call it the pirate ship. These are the rebels today. If you're a Trump supporter today, you're a rebel. You're a renegade. This is how he has flipped the script. You are anti-establishment. If you're a Republican in a blue suit with a red tie, you're the rebel now. Trump is the rebel, and he brought the whole pirate ship to Madison Square Garden, and it was something to behold. You had Hulk Hogan and J.D. Vance. You had Tucker Carlson and RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and Tony Hinchcliffe. We'll get to Tony, who he didn't quite kill it, but he certainly drew a lot of attention. Comedy, that thing that Democrats don't like anymore. You know what's remarkable? If Musk didn't buy Twitter, you wouldn't see any of this. They would ban it. They would call it hate speech, and Twitter would take it down. They would censor it. They're the party of censorship. I knew this would work. I knew Trump and MSG would work because it's the media capital, and he's in the lion's den. He's in deep blue New York City. I had no idea it would be this successful. There were 20,000 people in the building. They were there early, and they were having a good time hours before Trump even showed up. Outside of MSG, there were an estimated 70,000 more Trump supporters wearing their MAGA hats. I don't think you could do this 4 years ago. I don't think you could do this 8 years ago. Somehow following Trump, supporting Trump, has become not only a rebellious act, It's kind of become cool after the game last night, after the Sunday night game, when the Niners beat the Cowboys, just kind of ruined them. Brock Purdy and George Kittles were doing an interview on the field, and Nick Bosa shows up just to point to his MAGA hat. He interrupts the network interview just to express his support for Donald Trump. I don't think you'd see that 4 years ago, even though Trump had plenty of support. He got 74 million votes. This feels different, and I don't want to get too excited. There's certainly ways this could go wrong. This could go sideways. We know what Obama said to Biden. We got time. Give it time. We know Kamala has hired Mark Elias, who is the Russia hoax guy, a lawyer who's an expert in election fraud, who knows how to steal elections. He's on the payroll now, and they're working hard behind the scenes to find a way to flip the script. But they could do nothing last night. There's Boza sticking his face in the interview to show his support for Trump, and that's kind of become cool. Trump has found a way to become that you're kind of hip if you support the 78-year-old Republican at this point, and if you're a Democrat, you're the establishment. You're the swamp, the deep state. So if you want to shake things up, there's no choice. There's one guy who's out there ready to shake things up. That's all I kept thinking when I was walking around D.C. was everybody here, everyone supports Harris because they're protecting their phony, baloney jobs, and they're afraid. They're afraid of a second Trump term where he knows people now. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows just how devious and sinister some of these people are. And I think it'll be different this time. He'll have better people around him, and he will do what he promised to do last time. He will shake it up. And last night, there's the video. There's the picture of Madison Square Garden. Just the visual, just the optic of filling the place with like-minded people in the heart of deep blue New York City was something you can't buy. 70,000 people outside. They just wanted to be a part of it. They didn't want to miss it. They wanted to feel the energy, feel the love for Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, there were some great speeches. There was some just over the top energy and optimism here. And the best part is it completely broke the media. They are in such desperation mode right now. They don't know what to do. So where do they go with this? Well, let's not forget, someone else had a rally at Madison Square Garden 85 years ago. Yes, well, he wasn't there. Hitler wasn't there, but his supporters were in the same building. I mean, it is such an absurd stretch to think Trump appearing at Madison Square Garden in his home city with 20,000 supporters, and they draw the parallel to Hitler. You want to know who else held rallies at Madison Square Garden? I just made a quick list here. FDR, JFK, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Jimmy Carter. By the way, Bill Clinton accepted the nomination of his party in that building, the same building where Nazis held a rally 85 years ago. You would think there'd be some, I don't know, reflection. And if you're Harris or Walz or AOC or Joe Scarborough or Mika, you'd say, we like to go to extremes in attacking Trump. This might be a little too far. This might be a little absurd to think that somehow Trump holding a rally in the most iconic arena in the country, let alone the city, is a legitimate, valid comparison, parallel to Hitler. He has broken them. He's ruined them. He has he's put them all in straitjackets. They should put rubber walls at MSNBC because these people should be institutionalized. I think MSNBC considers itself a cable news network, like a news network. I know they have lots of opinion hosts, but they have lost it. I mean, we chronicle this every day. I've never seen it like this. I've never heard it like this. They have lost their effing minds. Let's watch how MSNBC covered a campaign event in an arena in New York City by the guy who's leading in the polls. This is incredible. Go ahead.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally, a rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
How stupid do they think people are to believe that?
That is your report from MSNBC last night. And that's just part of it, man. I had to get up this morning, first thing, put on MSNBC and watch the meltdown. I'm telling you, it feels like everyone's ready for this election. We've had enough. I can't get enough of this. I can't get enough of what he has done to these unhinged, demented people who can't look at him. They can't look at him without just losing it. They are just, they are pathetic at this point, and I can't wait for November 6th. 8 more days, and we get to see these people. I don't know what they're going to do if he wins next Tuesday. What are they going to do on Wednesday other than say it's illegitimate? They stole the election. Once again, get ready. Election denialism is going to become the highest form of patriotism. Yes, only paid people who love America deny election results. That's coming next week. But we'll just sit and enjoy this while it lasts. This absolute meltdown from these lunatics. Here is Mika this morning. Watch.
I think a lot of people are seeing that rally at Madison Square Garden, seeing all those people. Doesn't mean he's going to win the race. But my point is, it's discouraging that so many people would gather and rally to hate speech in America. That it's discouraging and it hurts.
It hurts.
People who have family in Puerto Rico, who are Puerto Rican Americans, who are American citizens, are hearing hate like that. It's discouraging, Joe. And I do want to show Michelle Obama in Kalamazoo, but I just think it's important to look at the situation. And it's not just, oh my gosh, about the race. It's, oh my gosh, how did we get here? How did we get here where a stadium of people come to hate? That's a different country, a different time.
You know how you get past that?
How do you get past that?
Work harder, vote,
yes,
and win. That's how you get past it.
They don't know. They got nothing left. Michelle Obama was in Kalamazoo, as she mentioned. Kamala Harris was in Michigan. Tim Walz was playing video games on some Twitch stream, and it was all just overwhelmed. They didn't register this weekend. The final days of the campaign. She's an afterthought. Trump has masterfully stolen the moment, stolen the weekend, completely overwhelmed the Harris campaign. They don't know what to do other than scream, Nazi. This was an amazing event because I've never seen a Nazi rally. I guess I've seen the video of Nazi rallies, many documentaries. Have you ever seen a Nazi rally that included the Israeli flag? Yes, it was hanging from the rafters. That included groups of Orthodox Jews who were in the building cheering for Hitler. That's the kind of box he's placed them in. The speakers included a prominent Jewish guy, Stephen Miller, a prominent African American in Byron Donalds, a prominent Hindu in Vivek Ramaswamy. So we had a Nazi rally with Jews, blacks, and Hindus, and women, and people of all shapes and sizes. They are at a loss. They are lost, broken souls that don't know where to go, don't know what to do. Their girl is losing right now, and they know it, and it hurts. The latest Polymarket odds, they just keep going up. The campaign's been going on for what? 100 days since Kamala entered the race. This is Trump's best odds yet. 66% chance to win her. She's down to 34. So he's reached an all-time high. And I don't think, here's why I'm confident, is I used to think, that Trump could say something stupid or do something stupid. It doesn't matter anymore, because if he says something dumb, it's just Trump being Trump. That's what he is. He's he shoots from the hip. He's undisciplined. He's Trump. He's real. She's not. She's fake. In the battle of authenticity, it's a blowout. It's 100 to 0. She is a total fake, a total fraud, the most the phoniest, fakest, most contrived candidate we've ever seen. And he, for all his faults, he went on some weird rant about whales and wanting to be a whale psychiatrist with Joe Rogan. People laughed. It's just Trump. He's real. He doesn't pretend to be anything he's not. He's there with his blue suit and his red tie, no matter where he is. He's the same guy in New York City as he is in Montana or some deep red place. He doesn't pretend to be. He doesn't change his accent. He doesn't change his outfit. He doesn't pretend to be something he's not. And that works. That resonates. People appreciate that. I'm not sure this one's real. New poll out of New Hampshire. Trump is leading in New Hampshire. That will be remarkable. That is a sea change, man. I didn't think he had any chance. Maybe it's not real. Maybe she's going to win New Hampshire. So what? He's leading or tied in every swing state. He's leading in the national polls, and they just keep coming unraveled. The could be the phoniest moment of Kamala Harris's campaign. I'm not sure. I mean, we could make a list. It's 100. There'd be 100 choices. But Kamala was in Michigan with Gretchen Whitmer. She didn't get, Holy Communion with a Dorito, but she went to a bar room with, to pretend she's just a regular person sitting in a bar, having a beer. She just told Stephen Colbert she hasn't had a beer since she and Dougie were at a baseball game. She doesn't drink beer. But they sit there and they just pretend. The cameras are on, the mics are on, and they pretend they're just two old women having a beer. Look at her.
Two hens out on the town.
Yeah, look at her just pretending to be happy, sipping her beer and just hanging out at a bar.
She sips the beer like it's a friggin' scotch.
She didn't have another sip. That was it. And pretending to just shoot in the breeze. She can't. She's so phony. She can't do anything without appearing like she's following some kind of script. Trump, he doesn't drink beer. He doesn't pretend to drink beer. He doesn't sit at a bar with whatever, J.D. Vance, and pretend. It's not how it works. You can't do this. You can't fake authenticity. By definition, you are inauthentic. You are phony. You are contrived, and everyone can see it. And I think for the next 8 days, I feel good. Trump's just going to do his thing. She's going to make a big speech at the Ellipse and talk about January 6th. We're tired of January 6th. We've gone over it. We've done it. It's over. It's worn out. She has nothing new. I watched a speech over the weekend. It was word for word, the same speech she's given a dozen times. Her new thing is screaming, Never again, never again. It just falls flat. Everyone could see it. Everyone knows it. You're done, lady. You're done. It didn't work. You gave it a shot. The media was there to help. It failed. It blew up. It didn't work. I'm sorry. And that's just one day, one weekend. We got so much more. The LA Times and the Washington Post endorsed Trump, and the staffs of these radical Democrat operatives posing as journalists lost their minds. It was wonderful. It was glorious. Oh man, we got a new accent from Kamala. We got to get to that. Joe Biden, we got word out of the Biden camp. Big question heading into the final week. Who is Joe Biden voting for? I don't know. I think we may never know, but Joe Biden does not want her to win. And that's going to be the big story. After the election, there'll be all kinds of these fake journalists doing the retrospective, and they'll say Joe Biden undermined her campaign because that's what he did. We got to get to Kill Tony. Kill Tony. Is he one of your favorites, Ironhead? You're the big comedy guy. You like Kill Tony?
He's not one of my favorites, but I do like him.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. It was, I don't want to say deliberate or planned this way, but why it is not a problem. They're fixated on it, on what Kill Tony said last night at the rally. It doesn't matter. He's a comedian. They were jokes. It just doesn't matter. We'll get to that and much more. But first,
excuse me.
Are your loved ones aging? Has walking become difficult for your parents, your grandparents? It's tough. I've been there. I know lots of you have been there too. Stairs can often be a challenge for them. It's also a significant risk of falling. Well, Lifeway Mobility, one of the largest providers of accessibility solutions, offers stair lifts, wheelchair ramps, home elevators, transfer aids, and bath safety solutions to improve safety, independence, and quality of life at home. Most of their solutions are made in the USA, and they provide professional installation and service. Gain peace of mind and help loved ones stay safe at home. Schedule a free consultation when you call Lifeway Mobility at 888-780-7923. They have locations across the U.S. with showrooms for you to see and test their products. They're also rated the best stair lift company by the National Council on Aging and by U.S. News, and they have over 6,000 five-star reviews. Call 888-780-7923 or visit lifewaymobility.com for your free consultation. That's 888-780-7923. 8 days. 8 is a good one, Ironhead. 8 is a really good one. I'd say my favorite 8 would probably be Yaz, Kobe Bryant, Yogi Berra, Cam Neely. A lot of good 8s.
Antoine Walker.
Antoine Walker. I wouldn't put him as one of the greats, but
Kemba Walker.
A lot of good Ovechkin.
Alexander Ovechkin.
A lot of good number 8s. 8 days to go till the election. Hell, half the country's going to have voted before Election Day, which isn't a problem this time. It was last time, but Republicans are voting early in big numbers. They're energized. They're excited. They want change. They want to turn the page. They want a new direction. We got to get to JD Vance. God, I love JD Vance. We often hear experts and analysts and pundits say that vice presidential pick doesn't matter. Maybe sometimes it doesn't. Maybe, George H.W. could still win with Dan Quayle. Maybe, Obama could still win with Biden. You can pick a stiff as your VP and still win. You can't pick a creepy weirdo liar like Tim Walz. And Trump did the opposite. The guy he picked, rock solid, absolutely impressive. And as I say many times, I love when I want a fighter. I want a fearless guy who goes into the lion's den like JD Vance, and he did it again. We will get to JD Vance with that snake, Jake Tapper. It was glorious. But I want to do that. I want to get to this. By the way, Trump on Rogan, it's up to 30 million views on YouTube. 30 million for a podcast which dropped on a Friday afternoon. 3 hours. How many of the 30 million? I listened to like half of it. I just had things to do, and it was good, and it was Trump, but I can't believe the numbers Joe Rogan puts up. just amazing. But I want to get to AOC. I saw this morning. AOC is losing her mind. AOC is very upset about Kill Tony Hinchcliffe, who made the joke. Do we have the joke about Puerto Rico? Let's do the joke first, which has all these people just losing their minds. Again, it wasn't hilarious. We'll play it. It wasn't hilarious, but it was a joke. It was humor. And I think the purpose behind this was to show that these people on the left, people like AOC and Mika and Joe and Jake Tapper, have no sense of humor. They don't like jokes. They don't want jokes. They would like to censor, jokes that they find offensive. And it was just he was a warm-up act. He wasn't the featured speaker. Just went up there. He made a good case for Trump being the anti-war president. He made a good joke about Democrats being the party of P. Diddy. And he made this joke about Puerto Rico. Good.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here. All right. Very good.
Yeah, it wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it was just a dumb joke.
I think the following the national anthem part was funnier.
Yes, and you know what? They're losing it because this was part of a political rally. Obviously, jokes like this are made in comedy clubs all the time, but this is why Trump is killing it with young men, with men. They don't mind jokes. They don't mind humor. Even if they're Puerto Rican, you can laugh. And he made a weird watermelon joke about his black friend, and they just can't take it. By the way, George Lopez at a rally for Harris made a joke making fun of Mexicans. You didn't know that, did you? A couple of days ago. No big deal. George Lopez, a Democrat, can do it. Kill Tony, nah, it's offensive. This is AOC, who, as we know, is probably the dumbest member of Congress. Just an absolute half-wit. And she is very upset. And there's a part of this that just, I watched this morning. I had to stop and listen again, trying to figure out what the hell she's talking about. It is just something to behold. Let's listen to AOC wrapping up the weekend and all the Nazi stuff she heard from the Trump camp. Go ahead.
So Congressman, last night, right here in New York City, your hometown, Donald Trump held a packed rally at Madison Square Garden, and a number of speakers used downright racist and offensive language, no more so than the so-called comedian who said that Puerto Rico was an island of garbage. Can you just give us your reaction to what you heard last night, just hours and hours of frankly, hate, and how it could electrify this electorate?
Well, there's a couple of things. As you mentioned, this was a hate rally. This was not just a presidential rally. This was also not just a campaign rally. I think it's very important for people to understand that these are mini January 6th rallies. These are mini Stop the Steal rallies. These are rallies to prime an electorate into rejecting the results of an election if it doesn't go the way that they want. Because Donald Trump and that entire cadre of people up on that stage, Stephen Miller, et cetera, do not respect the law of the United States of America. And they either want to win this election or they are using rhetoric of taking it by force. That is what they mean, and that's what they're doing when they are inciting violence and hatred against Latinos, against Black Americans, against Americans who don't have children, you have J.D. Vance literally talking about watering down people's right to vote, depending on if they can viably carry a child or not.
Stop it right there. What the hell is this woman, this crazy, dumb woman talking about? Could someone help me out? I mean, I pay pretty close attention to this stuff, especially J.D. Vance. Literally watering down the right to vote, depending on, what did she say? Depending on whether you can carry a child. Can someone help me out here on the chat line? On the
The chat line's busy crying about Tony Hinchcliffe telling jokes right now.
Right.
Well, he told jokes. Of course he did.
JD Vance is watering down the right to vote depending on whether you can carry a child. What does that mean? Anybody? This is a sitting congresswoman. This is one of the most powerful Democrats in the country. She wants to be a senator. Hell, she wants to be president, which would be great. But what does that mean? Anybody help me out. When did can you find that clip, Ironhead, where JD Vance says he wants to water down the vote?
I don't even know what I would type to look that up.
I was thinking that. What I mean, obviously, there's probably something there that she has misinterpreted in her simple brain. But what could that possibly mean? We want to take the vote away from people who can't carry a child? Does that mean men can't vote? Oh, I'm going to miss this when it's over. By the way, she talks about they don't respect the rule of law. She's talking about Stephen Miller. Nobody talks about the rule of law more than that's his whole thing, is talking about enforcing the law, enforcing the border, arresting criminals, deporting criminals. That's all Stephen Miller talks about. That's what he talked about last night. And it was a great speech. Obviously, it's unusual to have a prominent Jewish guy speaking at a Nazi rally, but he gave a great speech. So did Tucker Carlson. So did Tulsi Gabbard. So did RFK Jr. I mean, it was one just knockout, home run after another. It was a very impressive rally, as you can tell by the reaction of these lunatics. You could skip the rest. All right, I want to get to Kamala's new fake accent, but let's get to JD Vance with fake Jake Tapper. God, this guy is just the best surrogate, the best decision Trump ever made. Obviously, Trump wasn't great in the personnel department in his first go-round. He made some mistakes, as we've seen with John Kelly and Mike Pence and so many others. This was the biggest decision he made in his run for re-election, and it was perfect. This guy will go anywhere. He'll challenge anyone. He's fearless. He tells the truth. There's such a contrast between this guy, who's smart as hell and successful, and the creepy weirdo moron that Kamala picked, who they don't even let him out of the house because they know he'll say something stupid or he'll just come up with another lie. But Vance goes on with Jake Tapper, and Jake was getting emotional. He was getting angry. They can feel it slipping away. That's what's going on here. When you see people like Jake Tapper and Mika and Joe, they can feel it slipping away. They can't believe their worst nightmare is 8 days from coming true, that Trump will return to power. And they're going to work overtime for 8 more days to stop him. But they can tell, they know that they've done their best and they have failed. He gets all upset. And by the way, Vance just calls out CNN, says, you people, you spread the Russia hoax for years. You lied every night. That's what you do. Called them out on their network to their faces. It was beautiful. But here's JD Vance talking about the CNN coverage. First of all, he makes a great point. All they want to do is talk about Trump, Hitler, Trump. And there's like a million issues on the ballot here. There's lots going on, but they just want to focus on the Democrat talking points. Trump is a fascist. John Kelly said so. Must be true. If the guy Trump fired, this angry, bitter old guy, this military guy who loves war, wants to keep it going, and Trump dumped his ass, and he's bitter, and he makes up stories, and he brings them out a week before the election. So flaw in that, but Jake doesn't care. He's got something to go on, and Vance will have none of it. This is Vance. And by the way, a nice little compilation, fact check in real time of fake Jake. Play this.
You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it. So we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just
that's
said is
why.
false. President Trump has gone to, quote, extraordinary lengths to keep specifics about his meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin secret, even keeping them from top members of his own administration. Take a listen to how President Trump responded Saturday night when asked directly if he has ever worked for Russia.
I think it's the most insulting thing I've ever been asked. I think it's the most insulting article I've ever had written.
The president did not directly answer the question. It's a stunning turn of events. Do you think the president of the United States ever worked on behalf of the Russians against American interests?
He is such a liar. Vance called him out. He said, oh, no, it was an FBI investigation. That had nothing to do with it. They were fed this hoax by their friends in the DNC, by the Clinton campaign, and they ran with it night in and night out. And he knows it. He's a liar. And Vance called him out to his face on his network. And he did it. He did the same thing with, he did other Sunday shows like he does every week. And he just goes in there totally relaxed, comfortable, and truth bombs him. It's so great to see. I'm telling you, a overlooked demographic is people voting for Trump. Maybe they don't love Trump, but they love this guy, and they're looking forward to a J.D. Vance presidency in 2028. Do we have more with fake Jake and JD?
Yeah, this is Brett Baer got a ton of guff for the way he talked to Kamala Harris.
Or interrupting. Yeah.
Yeah. This is insane. This is like a debate,
and watch which guy. Usually, it's the candidate or the interviewee who gets upset. In this case, it's the interviewer, this fraud, Jake Tapper, who pretends he's a journalist and a big defender of the military and a straight down the middle guy who plays it straight. He's so full of it. This guy is such a fraud. Go ahead.
10 people, including the former vice president, Mike Pence, all of these people have this horribly damaged worldview, and they're all just going after Donald Trump because they want to send people into war. That's really your argument?
Absolutely.
It's not like these are conservative.
Absolutely, that's my
These
argument.
are not conservative
Jake,
Republicans. These aren't conservative Republicans who are concerned about Donald Trump. They're not. That's not right.
All of these people, Jake, they came into office thinking that they could control Donald Trump. That when he said he wanted peace in the world,
Pence thought he could control Donald Trump.
Yes, he did. And when he found out, when he found out that he couldn't, they all turned on Donald Trump.
Yes, Jake, really? I love that. Most politicians, they would moderate. They would back down a little. He says, absolutely, that's what I'm saying. I mean, here's what else he should say. The guy claims he heard Trump praise Hitler 4 years ago. 5 years ago, 4.5, and he brings it up 2 weeks before the election. What do you think of that, Jake? If it was such a dire situation that we had a president, you think you might have mentioned it a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I mean, the guy's been running for president for 2 years. You don't think it was important until 2 weeks before the election, and you feed it to the Atlantic, the most far-left, Trump-hating outfit out there? You don't think that's not a little fishy, Jake? You fraud. Oh, it is great. I don't know if Vance is going to continue to go on every week if they win the White House, but I hope he does because it's my favorite part of the weekend. JD Vance crosses enemy lines, goes in with these Democrat operatives, and just gives a master class every week. Okay, here's the comparison. Here is the creepy weirdo making an appearance for what else? Abortion in front of like 12 people. This is the choice Kamala Harris made. I'm convinced she'd be winning. If she picked Josh Shapiro, she'd be winning Pennsylvania. She'd be winning this election. Instead, because Josh Shapiro is Jewish, she picked this creep. And every appearance he makes,
people that keep saying Trump is Hitler refuse to have a Jewish person in their cabinet.
That's true. And by the way, not only that, but when you think of New York City and crowds and protesters, they're all essentially Democrats, the ones who wave Hamas flags and Hezbollah flags and say, kill the Jews. You know, the kill the Jews crowd on college campuses or in big cities, they're all Trump haters. They're all on their side. The real Nazis, the ones waving Hamas flags and chanting river to the sea, they're all Democrats. They're the party of Jew hate. They're the party that wouldn't choose a vice president, a popular guy in a crucial state, because he's Jewish, because he was born Jewish. Instead, they picked this absolute creep, and they got what they deserve because he has been a disaster. Here he is screaming about Hitler again.
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. And I think some of you don't miss on this. Go do your Google on this. Donald Trump's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden. And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
Look at it. There's just no energy. Everyone's looking at him and like, why did she pick this creep? Why did she pick this weirdo? He does nothing but hurt her. He hasn't won a single male vote. He's supposed to win the male vote, the rural vote, the good old boys in flannel shirts. They hate him. They like the guy in the suit and red tie. They don't like this fraud, this phony. Speaking of fraud and phony, can you get Kamala's new accent before we move on? This is, again, the fakest, phoniest, most contrived candidate in history. And she was I'll give her credit. She went off script for a moment because I saw a lot of the speech and it was just the same lines over and over saying the same things, that Trump can never again stand behind the seal. Never again, never again. It just falls flat every single time. But she was, this is her new accent. It's not ethnic. This is preacher Kamala giving a sermon. Talk about, again, Trump would never, ever do this. Vance would never, ever do this because they know people see through it. She's too dumb to know people see through this act. Listen to this.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
Can't you feel the joy? So much joy. That's one of the worst things that's happened to her is the angry Kamala, and she breaks it out every day now. Angry Kamala, waving her arms and screaming. It doesn't work, and I don't care what race she is or gender or sex. I know Michelle Obama was out there shaming people for not supporting a woman. Has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. She's a radical. She's a phony. She's a fraud. She's a half-wit, and people know it now. They got to know her. When they didn't know her, her numbers were much better. Now that they know her, they're rejecting her out of hand. Well, I mentioned the LA Times and Washington Post. This was so fun over the weekend. I just love this. The LA Times declined to endorse a candidate for the first time in 40 years. They didn't endorse. The LA Times is every bit as radical as the New York Times. Didn't endorse a candidate. So people went nuts. This is shameful. It's cowardly, all that. And some of the people at the Washington Post, including Jennifer Rubin, who could be the most just repulsive person on that rag, she shamed them and said, you should quit. Everybody at the LA Times should quit. So the next day, the Washington Post declines to endorse a candidate. Jeff Bezos, he knows which way the wind is blowing, and he wants no part of this losing campaign. So they declined to endorse a candidate, and they went crazy. Did Jennifer Rubin quit? Of course not. They're all frauds. People canceled their subscriptions. There was the theory that Bezos did this on purpose to get some of these people to quit because he's losing like $100 million a year. But those were essentially endorsements of Donald Trump. When a left-wing newspaper doesn't endorse the candidate, the Democrat candidate, that is good news for Donald Trump. And so is this. I think this was Axios. According to Axios, Joe Biden said Kamala Harris's campaign is, quote, dead and buried. And he called her an innate sucker. I don't know why. I mean, it sounds like Biden, totally inarticulate, but the campaign is dead and buried, according to Joe Biden, who is going to revel in this. He is going to love this quietly, maybe off the record. He'll tell some people just how much he's going to enjoy the downfall of the Harris campaign, but it is coming. I have no doubt. All right, we got to get to the greatest political commercial I think I've ever seen. You want to talk about desperation? It just this is what desperation looks like. What you're seeing from the Harris campaign, what you're seeing from the media, just they don't know what to do. The last 8 days, they don't know what to do. They're hoping for another October surprise, I guess. There's a lot of rumors out there what the October surprise might be. You know, they've got to, but I think Trump at this point is immune to it. I mean, they're going to come out and say whatever he grabbed some woman's ass, 30 years ago. That didn't work. Will there be another woman? Will there be I don't know, some other scandal? It's coming in the next 8 days, and I have a feeling it will fall flat like the rest of the hoaxes. But we will show you the most amazing, most comical, most ludicrous TV commercial campaign ad I have ever seen. But first,
excuse me.
All right, small business owners, listen up. If you're tired of losing money to credit card processing fees, we've got something you need to hear. With 24/7 payments, you can eliminate up to 99% of those fees thanks to their fee elimination program. Here's how it works. You pass the processing fees on to customers who pay with credit cards, and in return, you can offer them a discount for paying with cash or debit. It's a simple, effective, and fully compliant way to save thousands every month. Right now, 24/7 Payments is switching over 250 businesses every month to this program, and they can have you set up in less than 24 hours. Call 855-504-0799 today or visit them on the web at 247payments.com. That's the numbers 247payments.com. Do you want a better way to simplify finance operations for your business across expenses, vendor payments, and accounting? If so, Ramp could be a complete game changer for you. Ramp is the corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money in your pocket. Ramp gives finance teams unprecedented control and insight into company spend. With Ramp, you're able to issue cards to every employee with limits and restrictions and automate expense reporting so you can stop wasting time at the end of every month. Ramp saves you money. Businesses that use Ramp save an average of 5% in the first year. Ramp is easy to use. Get started, issue virtual and physical cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. Whether you have 5 employees or 5,000, doesn't matter. And now you get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Gerry. That's ramp.com/Gerry, ramp.com/GERRY. Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank. Member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. I mentioned I was in Virginia over the weekend, in Northern Virginia, and it's sort of a battleground state. It's certainly more than, Boston. So it's commercials every break, watching a football game, you just get inundated with commercials. And I noticed one thing about the Kamala Harris ads. I think I mentioned this the other day. They're just lies. They're just, every ad, Project 2025. Trump denounced that long ago. It's nothing to do with that. National abortion ban. Trump said over and over again, there'd be no national abortion ban. IVF. Trump supports it. Hell, Trump even said the government will pay for it. To claim that he wants a national abortion ban when he said over and over and over again that he doesn't support that. Nobody thinks he supports that. Trump's the most moderate Republican out there on abortion, unfortunately, but they try to pin that on him because that's all they've got. And they talk about the Amanda Gorman, the woman that died because of Trump's overthrew Roe v. Wade. That's not why she died. Everyone knows it at this point. But that's a good sign when you know that all the commercials, all the ads are just full of lies that have been debunked over and over. And now they have the Hitler hoax, and they're running with that. By the way, before we get to the greatest ad ever, you know what else was a rarity for the Trump rally, the Nazi rally last night at MSG, there was a Holocaust survivor there. I'm not sure. Was there any Holocaust survivors at the 1939 Nazi rally? So you had Jewish groups, Orthodox groups, you had Jewish speakers, you had an Israeli flag hanging from the rafters, hanging from the balcony, and you had a Holocaust survivor at this Nazi rally. His name is Gerry Wartsky, and he is not happy with Kamala Harris. Can we hear from Gerry?
My name is Gerry Wartsky. I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Why should the Jewish people support President Trump?
Because he's a mensch. I believe that President Trump is definitely going to be good for Israel, because in everything that he's done up to now was in favor. He never double-crossed anyone, and he never showed any weakness. Watching President Trump pray for the hostages at the Ohel and getting to spend time with him so meaningful. He has always stood with the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
You think Jake Tapper will book Gerry Wartsky tonight, maybe? You think he'll be on Morning Joe tomorrow? A Holocaust survivor. That's the thing with Kamala. She's and Walz. They're not smart enough. They don't know history. She doesn't know anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Her biggest flaw is she's too well prepared. That's her flaw. That's the mistake she makes. She prepares too much. And I don't think Hitler comparisons work for anybody. As everyone knows, there was only one Hitler. There's no other Hitlers. Trump isn't Hitler. Trump's daughter's Jewish. His grandkids are Jewish. Trump prayed at the Western Wall. They've thrown a lot of stuff against the wall. They've reached for a lot of attacks on Trump. This could be the dumbest, the most ill thought out. We're going to call him Hitler. Let's just keep calling him Hitler. Maybe there's some dummies out there who'll buy it. But all right, before we go, we got to get to this commercial. This is not, I don't believe, from the Harris-Walz campaign, but it is from a PAC that supports. These are Democrats, and this is what they're marching out to help their girl and their creepy weirdo. I can't even look at it. They want you to know Republicans aren't just coming. They're not just going to come for your birth control and they're going to your doctor's office. They're going to, I don't even know how to say this. Oh, they want to ban masturbation. Yes, bad news, Ironhead. If Trump wins, they're going to pass laws banning no more sparring with the champ here. It's over.
Well, there goes my Monday plans.
When they outlaw masturbation, only masturbators will.
Only illegal porn sites will remain.
I think, maybe we're being hoaxed again. Maybe this is another deep fake, but I think this is an actual commercial by an actual Democrat PAC. Watch this.
Oh! Sorry, you can't do that.
What the hell, man? How'd you get in here?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning porn nationwide.
You can't tell me what to do. Get out of my bedroom, you creep.
I won the last election, so it's my decision. I'm just going to watch and make sure you don't finish illegally.
Progress, it's called progressfund.com. That is a Democrat PAC, and that's their final message in the final days of the campaign. They're going to ban porn. I've never heard that anywhere from anyone. It's like contraceptive banning. Who ever said in the history of politics we're going to ban?
The only person I've heard talk, well, it's two people. It was Ben Shapiro and like Matt Walsh have talked.
Walsh wants to ban porn, but I don't think any candidates that I've heard. I don't think Trump has ever said that. That's why they can't handle
The
Trump.
guy that slept with Stormy Daniels. No, I don't think he's going to get rid of.
No, I don't think he's ever in his life said anything about banning porn. I mean, I'll have the discussion. You want to talk about it, but I haven't heard it from the Trump campaign. I don't think that wins one vote. They spent money on that. People donated to produce that commercial that the Republican congressman goes in the bedroom, says, we're going to take away your porn, young man. Boy, are they desperate. That is what desperation looks like. All right. We got to leave it there on this Monday. I could do 8 hours. What a weekend. What a great weekend. You might have had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. No one had a better weekend than Trump, Vance. They had a spectacular weekend. I'm just going to go back to watching the meltdown and enjoying every minute of it. But we will leave it there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Show, and we'll do it again tomorrow.